It is my pleasure to introduce the speech by Toastmaster Faisal Shaikh. He is completing his project from the Engaging Humor Pathway, Level 1, Project 2, Writing a Speech with Purpose. The purpose of the project is to learn or review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose and to present a well-organized speech on any topic. His time is 5 to 7 minutes, not 4 to 6 minutes as listed on the agenda. The title of his speech is The L Factor. Please welcome Toastmaster Faisal Shaikh, the L Factor. The L Factor, Faisal Shaikh.
I just want to confirm, the distinguished Toastmaster Ali Ashar, are you going to time or shall I continue?
Toastmaster Latif, you can continue. I am a bit struggling with my laptop.
No issues.
We hear a lot about needing to be productive, high achieving, and high performing in our jobs and businesses. And then we get talking about somehow that some people do it and other people don't, and how we aspire to become better at becoming productive and high achieving. Put a different way, we are referring to the idea of maximizing our potential. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmasters, today I'm honored to be doing this speech titled The L Factor. This is to tell you about a process that I learned recently that got me thinking about maximizing my potential, which I have been struggling with. I hope you find it useful too. We all lead fast-paced lives which can get in the way of us learning and us maximizing our knowledge. I'm sure you'll agree with me, the best way to improve our knowledge is reading. I, for one, is very guilty of not doing much reading, partly because of the so-called time excuse, and partly because maybe I'd like to imagine that I have some form of dyslexia because I have always found it difficult to read. It's not diagnosed, by the way. Recently, as in the last few years, I have come across this wonderful app, smartphone app called Blinkist. Has anyone heard about this app, Blinkist? So I'll tell you what Blinkist does. So Blinkist takes a lot of the best-selling non-fiction books out there in the high street or in the league of tables, and summarizes those in 15-minute chunks of audio or blinks, as they call it, little pages. And that is how I catch up with my reading these days, because it's very efficient. You get through the main ideas of the book in 15 minutes. And I recommend all of us to have a go at it. So the idea for my speech came out from reading one of those books, which I completely forgot the title of, that taught me 4 things summarized in an acronym that helped me in improving my productivity and well-being. And so far, in the last 2 months, it seems to be having some effect. So I thought maybe it's time for me to share it so we can all try it out and see how we feel. The acronym I'm referring to of 4 letters is CTRT. C standing for consume, T standing for test, R standing for reflect, and T standing for teach. So the first thing this methodology is telling us to do is to consume, and that is to consume knowledge. And the second thing that this methodology is telling us to do is to test, as in testing that knowledge to gain the experience, somehow implementing this knowledge out in the field. Now, I thought consuming knowledge and testing it, as in building the experience, is job done. But no, I was wrong. It is not job done, because the other two letters of the acronym proceed as follows. Reflect. So there are things that we may have learned and have tested, but in practice, we find out that there are shortcomings and gaps that are not fully addressed. So how do we find out about these? We find out about these by reflecting. And reflection at its simplest is done one-on-one by journaling, or it could be done in a group of trusted peers who can bring about different perspectives. So one leaves with a newer understanding of whatever issues that are being thought about. One thing I learned is that reflection is not about finding a solution always. We may end up with a solution that might improve our experience of what we are doing, but it may well be that we have to accept that things will have to remain as they are, which was a new thing for me to learn. And the final part of this methodology, which stands for T, is teach. And DTM Ali mentioned in his keynote speak about how when we have reached a certain milestone in our journey, that we also help others reach that same milestone by teaching and mentoring. And he said it so beautifully, and I just echo that in my speech as well. This all sounds logical and easy to follow. And at the time when I was implementing this methodology, I began to struggle a bit with adopting this approach, and I got reflecting. And my reflection hypothesized to me that what is getting in the way is my fear. Fear of consuming knowledge, risking doing away with the old and established knowledge. Fear of testing new ideas, risking doing away with the tried and tested ways of doing things. Fear of reflecting and thinking about problems, lest the new perspectives don't fit my preconceived ways of perceiving the problem and solving it. And finally, fear of teaching others because of my fear of public speaking and the fear of being judged and judged about my presentation and my knowledge. So this is where the L factor came to me. And the L factor simply is the love factor. And I don't mean love in the lovey-dovey romantic meaning of love, but love in the sense of loving oneself and loving others, which is another way of saying trusting oneself and trusting others. And this is how I believe my new family, which is the Karachi Toastmasters family, is helping me develop. The sole purpose of Toastmasters worldwide is to help people like me and yourselves overcome the fear of public speaking. And I believe the Toastmasters all over the world, especially in Karachi Toastmasters Club, are doing this beautifully, using the L factor for us to overcome our fears and become better public speakers. Madam Toastmaster.
DTM Sarfraz, you will be evaluated. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ravi Azishan. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially you, Toastmaster Faisal Shaikh, thank you for your fine presentation on the L factor or the love factor. Let me tell you first what I liked about your speech, and then I will provide some suggestions for improvement based on my personal opinion. What I liked about your presentation was your organization. You divided your speech into 3 distinct sections or parts. The first one was introduction to Blinkist, the app. Then you went on to the acronym CTRT, and finally the L factor or the love factor. So very well organized speech. I could easily follow what you were presenting. The purpose of your speech was to tell us that you had difficulty reading and how you have overcome that reading by using the app Blinkist and also by using the CTRT. And that has helped you read books in a faster method, like in 15 minutes. So well-organized speech. So I'll be remiss if I don't tell you how to improve. There are two things that I would like to discuss. The first is the eye contact. It is difficult to make eye contact with the audience when you are not looking at the camera. If you were in person, you could look to the left, right, and it would seem that you're making eye contact with the audience. But since you are online, you have to look at the camera, and that will give us the impression that you are making eye contact. Most of the time, you were looking down. If you are using notes, I would suggest that you use a larger margin so that your notes are in a short column, and then place those notes right below the camera or behind the camera, just above the camera, so that you're looking very close to the camera instead of looking downwards and up. Most of the time you were looking downwards, and that's a distraction. You lost that connection with the audience by not looking at us most of the time. The second is that you told us about the acronym CTRT. That's an acronym that you came across in your research. The CTRT is difficult to remember. I would like to see you modify it and make it your own acronym. Instead of CTRT, you could have changed it to CART, cart, like a shopping cart, and that's easy to remember. So you would still have the same CRT, except you change the second T to A. Instead of test, you can change it to analysis. And that would do the same as the testing. I enjoy your speech because of your organization, very well presented. And I would like to see you make more eye contact with the audience. And I look forward to your next speech. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster. And I guess now I'm going to ask
Yes.
for recommendation, Toastmaster Latif Mansoor Ali. Please provide recommendation to Faisal Shaikh.
You are on mute, Toastmaster Latif.
Toastmaster Faisal, if you're looking at my camera right now, this is the one which I speak when when I have a speech. And these are the notes which I just did it. I'm just sharing with you because I had last week did my reflect on path. So reflect on path has 5 levels, and sometimes it is not easy for you to remember it, which one you did and what was the project. So it has nothing much in detail. It just has the speech titles, but still, because it's a 10 to 12 minute speech, it takes a lot of time to remember. Either you can write one note and just be the one speaking to the camera like to us. This was the just insight with distinguished Toastmaster Sarfraz Nazir. My recommendation for your speech, I really got inspired. And only one thing which I am saying is, you are inspired with the application. Now, when we are inspired with something and we are really using it, we are talking about something which we have experienced. So I want that feeling in that while describing that, as if you have watched a movie. Oh, it's such a wonderful movie, you know. And this is the way you can just bring us together. Same way, I have a lot of areas of improvement, but it's just one suggestion. If you have experiences, let us experience through you. That's it. Thank you. Over to you, distinguished Toastmaster Nazir.
Thank you, Toastmaster Latif. And now for commendation, please welcome distinguished Toastmaster or newly minted Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Ali Asher Anjum.
Thank you, DTM Sarfraz. So Toastmaster Faisal Shaikh, I just love your speech, your vocal variety, vocal tone, and it is mesmerizing. And I think this is your very few good characteristic that you can use. So, and your speech is your speech was drafted very well. And I guess one of the there is a opening body and a conclusion with the purpose, and your good all who was sitting, but there were hand gestures. So I guess you did a great job, and best of luck for your future projects. Over to the lead evaluator.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Ali. And now I'll ask Toastmaster Faisal Shaikh to provide us brief remarks.
Thank you, DTM Safraz, our lead evaluator. So I'm once again honored and privileged to receive the feedback in the form of in the advanced format of evaluation, recommendations, and commendations. I do recognize the weakness I have in the eye contact area, and this was mentioned to me last time. I'm still working on it. So I think the beautiful way that's been mentioned in an encouraging way, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that's all. That's the main thing I have to say. But other than that, I think I'll take the feedback on, and I appreciate the recommendations. Thank you all very much. Yeah.
Thank you. And now back to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Rabia Zishan.